Hello and welcome to the Sewing Studio. Today I'm going to show you how to make a fillet and to put a fillet into your quilt. A fillet is this little piece of fabric here which is folded in half, so it just gives a 3D effect, and it separates your patchwork from your border and it frames your patchwork. Usually fillets are in a slightly darker colour to the rest of your work, or they're in a colour that complements the rest of your work. So how do you do that? So I'm going to show you. So first of all, you will need to measure your quilt and see how many drops of fabric you're going to need. And when I say drops, each bolt is 42 inches. So if you've got a quilt that is, say, 84 inches long, you're going to need 2 of these pieces joined together. So you cut your fillet at 1 inch and then you press it together, wrong sides together, so that the right side of the fabric is looking at you. So here's one I've made earlier. I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to attach the fillet to the quilt. Now, with this, what you do is you have to use a scant 1/8 of an inch because you don't want your sewing to show when you come to put your border fabric on. So you have to be really, really careful. And I'm just going to use the inside edge of my foot. And I'm just going to sew this on. So really, it's a bit like basting. So I'm just going to attach this now. So again, I'm not pinning it, I'm just holding it against the quilt as I'm machining. And then when we get to the end, I'm going to go back over to the cutting table and I'm going to cut the end off because I've got this long tail. So just going to come over here and just literally going to cut that piece off there level with the quilt. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go round and do all 4 edges. And you're going to, when you get to this bit here, you are going to overlap your corner like this. So you've got one going one way and this one coming this way. So they actually cross over each other. And all of that will be lost in the seams of your border. So I'm going to cut this piece off here as well. So that's level. So if you imagine that I'd also attached this one, and the important thing to remember is to have the fold going into the centre of the quilt. So your raw edge is going to be hidden in your border. So then when that corner looks like that, as they're both crossed over, and you've done that all the way round, what you're then going to do is you're going to take your border piece, you're going to lay that over the top of your fillet, and you're going to sew that at 1/4 of an inch. And that will hide your previous stitching and it will give you the look of your fillet like this. So I'm going back to the machine. And I'm just going to lay that border on and then I'm going to machine, but this time using 1/4 of an inch. And what I do is I always leave a little bit extra at the top rather than coming in and being too short. I'd rather give myself a little bit extra and then I can trim it off afterwards. So I'm going to now line that up, the edge of my foot, because I've got a beautiful 1/4 of an inch foot on this machine. And so I'm now going to line that up and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom using 1/4 of an inch seam. And then I'm going to show you at the end, I'm going to show you how when you press it back, you can't see your stitch line from when you put your fillet in previously. It's all nicely hidden inside and you've got that lovely little fillet showing. So I'm going to press this back. Normally I would go to the iron and press it, but I'm going to press this back here like this, and you can see how the fillet has shown. And then what I would do is I would take my ruler and I would cut this extra bit away here. Just line that up, cut that away, and so you can see your fillet. Now, as I said, if I'd already put this piece in, you would see the corner crossed over, and then my next border would come across here. And you do that all the way round. Again, you would trim this end before you go in to put your next border. And that is how you put a fillet in. And I like to put binding on. When I've finished my quilting, I like to put a binding on in the same colour, much as I've done with this one. But you don't have to, it's your quilt, you can make it your own. But I quite like the matching fillet and border. So next time I'll show you how to put the binding on. So have fun, enjoy your quilting, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.